When you're an entrepreneur in business as an entrepreneur, you really want to make sure you come through well. And doing that with stories is important. And when you can blend humor in there, now you got something going. And if you want to know how to present, how to tell stories really, really well, you're in for a treat, because I've got someone here joining me right now who's done a lot of this. His name is Ken Futch. He's a member of the Speaker Hall of Fame. Ken, thanks for being with us today.
Good to be with you. Good to be with you.
Glad to have you here, because you are a master at this. You are known, a legend in how to tell stories. And your story is really something, because those of you that don't know, Ken was at home. He was with his wife, having a great time, and he pulled up a new gun that he had, a little pistol, looked at it, and pointed it the wrong direction toward him, and the gun went off and shot himself in the head. It was terrible, terrible thing. But Ken took that story, turned it into a humorous piece that has made him a few $1 million. He's done a lot, delighted audiences all over. Ken, I want to ask you, without going into the story right now, how do you take something that's negative, such a negative situation, and pivot that into something really positive?
Well, I didn't know at the time that it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Most people would not think, how can I really make a lot of money? Oh, I got it. Shoot myself in the head.
We usually don't think that.
No, I don't think that at all. And I'll have to admit, it wasn't necessarily funny at the time, but it's how you look at things. There's funny to be had. And the first time I told the story, my mother happened to be there, and she said, I might have known you'd have made it funny.
So that's good.
That's right. Why not? But it is people like stories, and people like funny. And people remember funny stories. And so I believe as many stories that you can tell that are funny, the better off one is. Now, not everybody knows what funny is, and that's good, because it'd be too much competition if everybody could do it. But if somebody works at it, if they've got let me say this, if you think you aren't funny, you're right. So not everybody is. But if you've got some funny stories, then you can work with them. You can get people to tell you what it is they like about it. Videotape it, look at it, work on it, change it. Most people's stories are too long, so you begin to cut them down, trim them down. And obviously, people don't realize how important it is to make it relevant to the audience.
I think that's so important, and that's something you do regularly. I've seen you do that through the years. You and I have known each other for decades and spoken different places around the world, around the United States, here and there, and you always make it relevant to that group. You might be speaking to bankers or maybe to retailers or people who are salespeople. You always customize it to them, and you are able to take that, and you are real big on something I want to talk with you about here, doing the reps. Getting in there and practicing it. Tell us a little bit about that and how that relates to telling stories and humor.
The first time I ever heard anybody talk about the reps, first NSA convention I ever attended in a small breakout room, Cabot Robert said, you cannot begin to tell a story until you've told it 50 times.
50 times?
I thought, come on now. 4 or 5 times I make a story rock and roll. At that time, I had no idea what he was even saying. What he was saying was, yeah, you might successfully tell it in 4 or 5 times, but you can't maximize that story. You don't know when to cut your eye this way, look down, make this move. And many times those additions that come with the story, they aren't even planned. You accidentally might do it, and you see immediately the response, what resonates with the audience. You see their eyes light up. You say, aha, that'll be in there next time as well. So it's the repetition. When I hear speakers, I've heard so many at meetings, I've never given the same speech twice. Now, I don't say anything, but I'm thinking to myself when they say that, then you aren't worth a crap.
And why is that?
Because you cannot maximize that speech if you give it a new one every time.
I've seen what you do is you use the same story over and over, but you always customize it to that group. You'll mention something about then what you bankers are going through right now is similar to that with this and this, or over there at your retail store. I know because I went into some of your stores and you did this, those kind of things. So it seems like you're telling the same story, so you've got it down. Right. You know the nuances, when to pause, but you also know how to customize it to them.
Yes, I mean, it really got my attention when I shot myself. There's certain things for bankers that gets their attention. It was an important moment in my life. So there's a lot of ways you can work with it. What was the impact it had on me? What are impacts on them? It definitely won't be shooting themselves in the head, but there are other things which are critical in importance to them. So you relate the concept without the specific.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, Ken, you have helped so many people, me being one. I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you, sir, for so much that you have done and continue to do to help me. Insights on what to do, how to do it. Hey, and if you don't know this guy, you want to check him out. Look at his material. It's out there on the interwebs all over the place, and you'll get that. So, Ken, if somebody says, well, I want to see it, and we want to see that story of you shooting yourself in the head with a gun and how you made people laugh, how could they find out about that?
Go to kenfutch.com.
And please spell that for us.
KNFUTCH. It's like Dutch, except with an F. Ken Futch.
I love it. Well, Ken, we really appreciate you being here with us. Lots of good information, and thanks for being such a strong legend in speaking and as a decent, wonderful human being.
Well, thank you, Terry. Always great to be with you.
And think about this. Take advantage of this opportunity. Ken is a master. He knows what to do. He's helped me. He's helped a lot of people. And now you have an opportunity to learn how to tell those stories and make it memorable. I'm Terry Brock. Thank you for joining me.